Please. Father God, as always, we are very appreciative to be in your presence and to be able to serve our community. Father God, we just ask that you give us the wisdom and guidance to do it well. Father God, we can better our community for all who live here. It's in the name of Jesus we ask. Amen. Thank you, Shane. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holder?
Here.
Commissioner Kerr?
Here.
Commissioner Horner? Vice Chairman Knight?
Here.
Chairman Jackson?
Here. Under one, consent items, we have consideration approval of minutes for the December 2nd, 2025.
I make a motion to approve.
My second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. 3, administration. 3A, nomination, election of chairperson of the Durant Planning Commission.
I would.
Just as a part of discussion, I'd like to add, I have been a chairman or vice chair for the last 6 out of 8 years. I would love to see if we could rotate positions.
I can make a nomination real quick.
Okay.
I nominate Clint Horner to be the commissioner.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Hate to do this to Clint, but yes.
You hate it so bad. I know that's what
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. 3B, nomination and election of vice chairperson of the Durant Planning Commission. I would nominate Shane Knight.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. 4, public hearings. 4A, consideration and possible approval of final plat request for property located near Gerlach Drive.
Good evening, everyone. This case might look familiar to you. I think back in 2023 it was final approved on the former plat. There were some things happen with that plat. That being said, the applicants have come back seeking to do a surety bond and move straight to a final for this. In your packets is the updated plat. I had sent around a paper copy of the previous plat so you can see the differences. The main differences was they added a third entrance off of Gerlach and took out a dead end and made it a cul-de-sac. Other than that, it's pretty similar to what was already once approved. If y'all's got any questions, the applicant is here and Public Works Director's here, and the third-party engineer the city has hired to review everything is also here. So,
I think really one of my few questions was you had mentioned in your summary that there was a third-party engineer that reviewed. Did they have any?
the only
additional
issue
comments,
that we had found was they needed to update the dates on the drainage plan, which they're working on now, but we can make sure that's done before any building permits or anything like that submitted. So,
Okay. So that wouldn't affect any of their property lines here that we're
No.
looking at?
Well, I think you've already said this, but staff has reviewed to make sure that everything that needed to be completed was what
Correct.
has been completed for
Yeah.
a final.
Yep.
Okay.
Is the sewer line running under the Grove Park Drive?
When it comes to the lines, hold up, Philip. This is why I brought backup today. 'Cause I knew most of these questions, I probably wouldn't have a clue how to answer.
Could you repeat the question? What was
Is
that?
there a sewer line?
I'm seeing that the sewer easement is running up, and it looks like it kind of stops a little bit south of the Magnolia Loop. So I was just wondering if the actual easement runs up through Grove Park Drive, and if that's then left open to make sure y'all can access that line later on.
Yes, we do have all our easements agreed upon with them.
I'm just saying, I don't want the whole part of Durant to be bad when they can't flush their toilets anymore.
I
So
know.
just want to double check.
Trust me, I don't either.
Is there a reason that those weren't shown on the part that we're looking to plat? The easements?
They weren't.
We're platting the part north of that, correct?
Yeah, that's different than the plat we looked at.
I'm James Cruiser with the developer Cope Equities. The reason why we're coming back to replat this is the entrances previously shown on the plat didn't meet fire ordinance, and so we're separating the entrances per the fire code. The reason why those easements aren't shown in the, sorry, I can't read, Grove Park Drive is because that's a dedicated right-of-way, and the city has the access to put their sewer, water, and storm, electric, and everything they want to as they please, and that doesn't need to be a defined easement.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone who wants to speak for or against? Is there any discussion? We have a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Commissioner Horner?
No.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. So again, this is a recommending board. It will go to City Council next week, Tuesday, 6 o'clock. I'm assuming they have a regular schedule. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next case on the agenda, or do you read that off first?
Normally.
I'm tired.
It's fine with me.
I'm exhausted.
4B, consideration and possible approval of replat request for property located near East Cedar Street.
This one's just a simple platting. It was, it had been platted, that's why it shows up on the Bryan County, but it was done after that 83 year that we look for. And it's been swapped off many times throughout owners, but they're looking to get it platted to do a single-family home on the property.
So I was a little lost on this one. What did we, why are we replatting it?
Because it was done, it was platted, but it wasn't platted through the city, the legal plat process after, and it was done after 83, which from what I've been told, it had to be before 83 to be legal non-conforming of the plat, so it was a recorded plat, but it was never recorded through the city.
Man, how many of these are we gonna see?
Probably a bunch.
So is it conforming or is it non-conforming?
It's conforming. If it's approved today, it will meet all the zoning requirements and fit the overall layout of the neighborhood.
What triggers that? What triggers that to need to be replatted?
Just, what I believe the ordinance states that any parcel of land before 83 is legal non-conforming, any after would have to be platted.
Yeah, but did
No.
they apply for a building permit, or they try
No,
to sell it?
no, I
or
think
what?
they had just reached out to Aaron Walkup, and he directed them on what they were gonna have to happen, and then came to us and told us what was going on, and then they started the process, so.
So nothing's changed on the property lines? It's
No,
just-
and there is the discussion, me and Doug's had it recently about the minor plats, just the property splits, as long as they're not, I mean, if you read the ordinance, as long as no major roads being put in, there's no extension of city utilities, it is considered a minor subdivision. I know Aaron Walkup said previously those were done in-house, but in my tenure here, I know Danielle didn't do it in-house, she brought it before council, so I was just following suit with what's been done previous to me, so,
Have we confirmed this matches what the county has?
yeah.
So all dimensions, everything is what
Correct,
the county
yeah.
has, okay. Whitney, do you have any comments on this?
I guess I'm a little, so I guess on one hand, if the owners reached out and said, hey, how do we make sure we're in total conformance, everything's kosher and good, then, I mean, I don't have any problem with this. I don't have any problem with them going through the process if they chose to do it. If they're not changing anything on the property, selling the property, it just seems like kind of an unnecessary expense to me.
I agree
So-
with you, and I'll be completely honest, I was kind of looking to get that response here tonight to see how we needed to handle these simple lot splits moving forward that weren't changing anything. They were still in conformance with all the city requirements. They weren't adding extension to the city utilities or adding any new roads. Just kind of how the planning commission felt about that, so.
I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of a city council question. It's whatever their preference is. I don't mind hearing them. I mean, they're very basic, very simple, but at the same time, it just seems like an extra step in the process
It
that,
clogs up we would probably remove a lot of cases coming forward by removing this step from there, because with the way the city is right now, unless we start annexing a ton of land around us, the only thing is infill at the moment, which is gonna be a lot of lots that are there. They're large lots that can be split into two lots for two homes, and that's all they'll be doing is putting a line in the middle of the property.
and Paul, you may not know, but I mean, what is the actual expense that that the property owners are gonna be looking at for this process if we make everybody do this?
It can get substantial, especially like in this property owner's area. So the fee's not that big a deal, but the abstract list. So obviously, if somebody's out toward the county area, there's not that many property owners around them. But here in town, if you go to get an abstract for all the property owners to get mailed out to, especially in a heavily congested area like that area, there's gonna be a lot of names on that property, and that's gonna make that cost pretty substantial to get that abstract list.
I think that might be something that city council wants to know, because I think it's important to know what burden we're putting on people when we do this.
So average cost that I see typically, and I'm from going about we'll say a year and a half, I've seen as low as maybe 800 to upwards of 1,700 on average for abstract cost. That's paid to the abstract company.
Which
Plus survey
realistically
costs,
is a little
plus
crazy to
application.
have somebody pay that just to come in for something that essentially we have no legal grounds to deny if it meets all the city ordinance and, meets the lot requirements and stuff like that, and they're not adding any roads or extension of utilities, so.
I mean, ultimately, it's tricky because you want to be careful setting up categories, because it becomes really easy to shuffle everything into a category or nothing into a category.
Exactly, yeah.
At the same time, if we've got average citizen who just is doing something that they're totally legally entitled to do, everything's in conformance. The only thing is just they don't have an updated plat after 1983. It seems insane to me that we could be looking at $1,700 for no particular reason.
Exactly, and I think that when I spoke to the ones that have been at the city of Durant a while, that was kind of their overall take, was before my predecessor, they did this type of stuff in-house, and And then my predecessors kind of didn't want that responsibility solely on them, so they had made the decision that it should go before Planning Commission and City Council. So, but I think if you read the ordinance, which me and Doug have went through, yeah, there's really no, in the minor subdivision, there's no real part in there that says as long as they're not adding a new street or extending the city utility, there's nothing in there that says it has to go through this process.
So, I think that's a city council question, not necessarily an us question. Like I said, if the homeowner reached out and that was kind of their choice to start the process, I don't have any issue with it. I just think the city's asking for a lot from people to make
I
everybody
completely
do that.
agree. I've never been a fan of the idea, if I'm just being completely honest, on something like a simple lot split that doesn't really change anything.
I have a comment on that. I totally agree. I think we're going to see hundreds of these if we're not careful. But when some of these minor splits were done in the past, we've seen the repercussions of some of that, where illegal lots were created, not intentionally, but just so, you know, and I don't know how you would phrase this, but things like what we're seeing right now, where absolutely nothing's changed, it just needs to be brought up to date. Yeah, I could totally see that being an administrative deal.
Yeah.
I think if there's a movement of property lines, corners in any way, then
I can definitely understand.
then you're starting to get into the, well, what is minor and what is not?
Yeah.
Because we've seen quite a few created over the last decade that should have never been created.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to, is who wants the monkey on their back. You know what I mean? If it's
Yeah.
done in-house, there's obviously some risk. And when it goes before a council, the risk is off my shoulders, because I can be like, well, the planning commission recommended it and the council approved it, so it wasn't me that did it, you know. So it definitely falls down to who wants to be under that umbrella of making that call, I think. But it is tricky, like you said, when there's no new streets, there's no extension of utilities. It's definitely something we need to probably discuss, because if not, we're going to be flooded with these similar cases in the future, I believe. So.
I think the city council just needs to
Yeah.
make the call for what they want to do. I mean, it's not a burden for us to do it at the same time.
But it does come with a high cost for almost something that you shouldn't be able to say no to, because it meets everything. So.
I think I would probably just echo both comments. One, I think it's a city council decision how we move forward. I think I probably would recommend, you know, if we're moving any property lines, you know, another set of eyes is helpful, you know, because we have had so many in the past that are non-conforming or something. So, any other questions for staff? Would the applicant like to speak? Is there anyone who wants to speak for or against? Any discussion? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Who's ready for that one? Got a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Holder,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Horner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. 4C, consideration possible approval of conditional use permit for property located near First Avenue.
This one, the applicants had come to my office. I do want to state before I lose my train of thought, at the time that I did the staff report, we had not had any emails or calls against this. The same day that I hit enter and emailed this out to Brandy to send to y'all, I got an email and a call. So I did make a note of them to read off to y'all here in a second. So they had approached staff. They had owned the gas station there at First and Mulberry. That has since been sold. That's where they were utilizing to store their fuel. Now they bought the property adjacent to them. They're looking to expand over with 3 additional tanks, with the 3 tanks they've already got there on the property. What they are looking to replat and rezone, but what they were initially looking for is these tanks take a long time to build, and they were needing some type of security blanket to know to put that order in to build them, because once they put that order in, they are expensive, and there's no refunds on those. So knowing that they were looking to rezone and replat, once they got it all worked out, I had advised them that I thought the quickest way to get a yes to order the tanks was to seek a conditional use permit for the time being, because that would just give them the initial okay to go ahead and order their tanks. With that, the applicant is here, so we field some questions. I don't think the fire marshal is going to make it. Did he respond?
Paul, I noticed on your comments from the TAC meeting said fire marshal has signed off, and then he signed. I believe his notes, if I am reading this right, says all construction attributes must be in accordance with IBC, IFC 2018 and all other applicable, I'm not sure what the last word is, codes. Thanks. So those were his comments.
Oh, the concern that I got via email. My main concerns are the traffic and noise. I wonder if you can get DOT to build a third lane. More housing areas in addition to 2 new schools have been added to First Street and now another business. So that was the overall concern that we got. But I did want to read it off. I didn't want to leave that out. So.
Thank you.
You mentioned the phone call also.
It wasn't a phone call. We had a lady show up today, but she didn't understand that it wasn't going to go all the way over to the residential area that we're talking about, just a small area next to theirs, and then the rest of that will be replatted and done something with potentially. But that was her concern, was having a bunch of tanks out there right next to their residential houses. But I didn't get to speak to her. One of my building inspectors spoke to her, and they were unaware that it wasn't going to go all the way over to the North Ridge addition there. So, and the fire marshal is here, so if you have any questions.
Do we have questions for staff? I know.
I think this is I found something for staff that, and I printed out some copies of this too, just because I'm not against the project, but we have a specific ordinance that says bulk fuel storage isn't allowed in city limits unless it was established before 1973. So I guess I'm just curious, what are we gonna,
And
or how are we gonna approach that?
Yeah, I may be mistaken, but when I read that, I saw a few exemptions. 2 of them, one of them had hyperlinks on it. I think it was 93 something that I was reading when it said that. One of the hyperlinks had mentioned something about the fire marshal and the chief of fire issuing a permit, and one of them had something about the city plumbing inspector issuing permits. But that I know that when me and Doug was looking at it, there were several others that I had not seen yet when we were reading it, so.
I know Mr. Elliott has, or at least had that pulled up too. I don't have that in front of me.
The 93 doesn't talk about that. That's just the process of the permit. The 93 is a specific prohibition. Then it talks about 150.095 and 150.096. That's the permit process. But the actual permit is addressed in 1654.01. I have it pulled up if anybody wants to read it, wants to look at it. But it pretty much puts everything in the discretion of the fire marshal, as long as these conditions are taken care of, and they're extensive. Being vaulted tanks, what they have to meet, crash protection, screening, fencing, foam for the fire department necessary to fight any type of fire. Does anybody want to review that?
Could you just give me the number again?
1654.01, and I had a heck of a time bringing it up. The search engine on that's not that great.
No, it is not.
So we have another one in there, and I know that I spent more time on this than I would have liked, because I wanted to find a reason to say yes. That's why. So we've got another one in there that talks in section 113, 113.021, and it talks about oil and gas permits, and it references the use of an oil and gas permit for storage batteries, or several storage tanks essentially. I have not ever been involved in an oil and gas permit from the city of Durant, so I don't know anything about it. But there is a piece in there in 113.021, section C, that says an oil and gas permit shall be used in lieu of a conditional use permit.
I don't think that's what this is when you talk about an oil and gas permit. Oil and gas permit would be the drawing of that gas, oil and gas from the ground, to store that oil and gas.
I think the same thing,
Okay.
only it specifically references storage batteries.
Correct, but I don't
So-
think that's what we're referring to. I
Okay.
think oil and gas permit means the ability to extract gas. A permit to do
Which they
something.
do have large tank batteries on site when they're doing that, at the pump jack. Spent 13 years in the oil field, but that may be what that's referring to, but yeah.
I have no doubt that that's what it's referring to. I just wanted to bring that up because it specifically talks about the
Yeah, I
storage
took a note of
batteries.
it. I hadn't
It
seen that one
refers-
yet. so.
The reason I say it is because in small c, 3C, it talks about the oil and gas wells
Mhm.
and the permit process thereof. That's the only assumption I'm making in that process.
Okay.
But I think the owners of this have talked with the fire marshal prior to possibly buying the property. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't, maybe that's an assumption on my part. But if they're doing what they're supposed to do and they comply with this 1654.01, and the biggest thing here is the proposed site must be approved by the fire division. So if that segment approves that, I think we're ill-served to not allow it. That's because of the assumptions that were made when they purchased the property.
Say that one more time?
If this proposed site is approved by the fire division, I assume that the property owner made that assumption or found out prior to buying the property, which I think it's an extensive purchase, a very large purchase. And if they didn't, then shame on them. But if they did, I think this committee has to rely upon the discretion of the fire division. And I assume that's the fire marshal when it says fire division.
Yeah.
Mr. Gordon, would you mind coming to the mic and making some comments just about your review and maybe approval, if there was one?
Would make it real, yeah, actually, so the only codes that I've found that, like, from a statewide perspective, just basically address the distance from the major tanks, like a 20,000 gallon tank or even greater, so only 100 feet. Now, that seems pretty small when you're talking about that volume of liquid, but the facility and the company, that LP gas stuff is governed by LP Gas Administration, and they are pretty stringent with their requirements. And so that's the codes that they have established. I know that we don't necessarily, the fire code and LP Gas Administration they basically say the same thing, but LP gas is no joke. And so if they're comfortable with that, I don't really have a problem with we had discussed it to Mr. Elliott's point. We had actually discussed, and I don't remember if it was prior to purchasing or not. I think you guys had it already purchased whenever we discussed it. But in my opinion, whenever we had discussed it and what they had laid out for where they were looking at putting the tanks, they're actually within all of the applicable codes, and fire codes and LP Gas Administration codes. As far as the city codes, I didn't, honestly, admittedly, I didn't look into that. So if there is a code that references no I guess, future storage of fuel tanks, fuel materials, I wouldn't know that. I don't know that for sure. But the expansion that they're talking about was basically just straight to the west and slightly south. Everything that we had discussed, which I don't have anything in paper, and I haven't approved any plans or anything like that. And as long as it's and I always kind of use this as my go-to, as long as it is subject to IBC, IFC 2018. I know you guys have seen me write that pretty regular.
You read it off a second ago of your staff report.
Yeah, so, I pretty much just stick with that. I mean, that's what we've adopted. And so I guess I should say also with that, LP Gas Administration, but they are, like I said, they're more stringent even than I would be typically. So I don't know if that answers your questions necessarily, but
Yeah, if I understand the city attorney correctly, the city code points to, if we have your approval, of the project, then that's what you know, our committee should lean on. And
Well,
so if
Of course,
you,
now, let me caveat this approval statement with, you know, everything has to be within the applicable national, international codes and things like that. But as far as just rezoning and expanding their storage capacity, we're okay with that, the fire division, the fire marshal, I'm okay with that. But just as long as we're abiding by all applicable codes.
But hold on a second. But you won't know if they're abiding by the code until it's constructed, correct?
Well, they will submit plans for expansion, and I'll compare that with what codes are applicable, you know, the LP Gas Administration, International Fire Code, Building Code, that sort of thing. So when they submit the actual plans, only right now can I give like a preliminary, say, I'm okay with them building something there, but then they have to submit plans to say, this is what we want to build, and then I'll compare that with the codes and say, okay, you'll have to do this or this in order to adjust it to match, to be within code.
Before they can pull permits.
Yes.
But right now, you're approving the location.
The location and potential expansion, yes, I'm okay with it. It doesn't represent, in my opinion, any further danger to any of the community, any more than what is already there. I mean, we've already got an established large volume fuels station there. So yes, preliminarily, I would say that with the location, expansion of the same location, using the same product and greater volumes of tanks, I think that I would suggest, or I'm okay with it, I would approve of that. Now, then, on top of that, before they're granted the operational permit, in order to construct the facility, they have to submit plans of what it is that they intend to construct, and then that would have to obtain permission or, I guess, approval.
When you say it has to obtain permission from you?
Yeah, it would be us and building department, because there's gonna be certain things that they're gonna be.
It'll be the same as if any new construction was pulling permits. The fire marshal and the building inspector would review it and approve it for construction, so.
But as far as this committee is concerned, the proposed site is acceptable.
Correct.
I'd suggest that that's what this committee vote on tonight, the proposed site only.
I have one thing for the comment.
yeah, if you would, we'll, yep.
One thing I was gonna add, like you mentioned, some of the LP Gas Administration, my name's Jason Robinson, McCraw Oil Company. We have to submit 30-day approval plans to the state, with the fuels regulated by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. So you got a pre-approval 30-day site plan, just like he had mentioned we'd be submitting to him. And then, so you got the initial site plan, then you got, even before you can even put the tanks in service, has to be inspected. And then continuance on, it's annually from there. So it's a lot, like you mentioned, very strict. And the rules to those are in that packet as well, if you hadn't looked at them.
So I noticed in your conditional use permit, y'all have actually been in business and had storage there, this above ground storage, since 1972?
That's just us. It probably dates back to the 50s.
I actually have a newspaper clipping with those storage tanks that a lady had kept from 1951.
Wow.
Same letters still there.
Yeah, I do. Well, and the reason I was asking is because you referenced the 1973, and so I was going to note that technically they had the above ground storage there since 1972 at least. So
I had a question about that too, though. You know, it's like they have, are we talking about the existing tanks since 1973 is what this is referring to, or are we talking about new tanks?
well, I mean, that becomes kind of the question here, but I think there's an argument if the tanks are already there and it's an expansion, I don't think that that's necessarily, I mean, I think what the statute or what the ordinance is looking at is more the creation of a new area, not necessarily an expansion of what's there. That's just my read of it, but.
I see what you're saying, but my name's Chris Nelson. I think I talked to Pam that day that you was in there, and just to be clear, so there's no, I got your, it's a surprise, that only applies to a property that you already own. So when you buy a new property, that no longer becomes.
He said what I was about to say.
You turn the mic off now.
He is correct.
And like he said, not only do we have to follow with the LP Gas Administration, we also have to follow the Corporation Commission, and those two are about as stringent as you can get.
And usually, typically on those type of jurisdictions, they have final say, but, you know, we're just trying to be good stewards of the community and, you know, present what we got going on, and of course get the fire marshal involved. And
the whole reason we're here is those tanks that we're wanting to order, which I know the city's probably wanted us to blow that corner lot up for years, because we've gotten calls on it numerous times, but that guy's actually revamping that store. He's already poured a bunch of concrete inside. He's gonna open that up and redress the whole building, and we've leased that from him, so we only have about a year lease with him. And those tanks, just ordering the tanks is about a 4 to 5 month wait before they get here, so
be real close to the deadline.
we're trying to get the approval just to order the tanks while we go through the process of replatting them.
I have two pretty generic questions. Where are you looking to? Are you looking to go directly south with the expansion? Or are you looking to expand to the west behind where you currently are? Or?
So if you see that little block right there where our office is.
South and west, but west is mainly gonna be
Yeah.
just to get distance requirements.
Go this way, about halfway across. And we've already talked to DOT, and they did say that they would grant us 2 curb cuts for that property.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed somebody had said something about that, about the deal, so we're gonna be self-contained on that. They're not gonna be looping through the traffic of, you know, going through around the neighborhood or anything. But it would just basically go halfway across that, and then back to the back fence a little bit. So it would just basically be an extension of that block.
And just to be clear too, since it doesn't show it there, I think it's about 1,300 or 1,400 foot of First Street right of way. And to get distance requirements and look at what we're looking to do, we're probably going to end up taking maybe 350 foot of that. So you're going to have another 1,000 feet between us and the subdivision.
Between the subdivision?
Yes, sir.
You know that property there's not very good, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not.
My mom lives right there.
So that you may have you may have helped answer what my next question was, and that is in the regulations from the state, do they have a certain minimum distance from your tanks or your property to a residence?
100 foot.
100
It's
foot.
just 100 foot. Yeah, I mean, I read the 100 foot in the requirements,
So
but I just.
What we're wanting to do, we're gonna fence that area off, but the only reason why we're saying we're going over to the middle part of that is to meet the distance requirements. Those tanks won't actually go halfway across that property, so from the tanks themselves, they'll be more than 1,000 feet from that property. It's just the edge of our fence. So from our fence to the edge of the tank, you have to have 100 foot each direction.
Would that be 100 foot from your existing property also? Like if you got to get.
We're going to take that fence down.
Okay.
So.
It doesn't count on property, it does on the other side of the property, but it just has to be 100 foot from your property line. So, I mean, this would only apply to basically 3 sides of those tanks, because we own that other side of that with our building and stuff.
Right.
And it gets a little gray because it's 100 foot from property that can be built upon. So if you like shove it up to a right of way or something like that, you take the whole right of way as part of your distance requirements. So
I've got another question now. Is there a and this may go to Paul. Is there a reason that we didn't go ahead and try to just rezone this to a C zone?
There is. Paul, if you don't mind, go to the mic so we can get you on recording.
They had talked about rezoning and replatting, but they were kind of needing verification to get these tanks ordered so fast that I just felt the CUP for now would be the quickest route without them having to go get a lot of surveys done and stuff like that, just to come in and say, yeah, you can order your tanks now. So if it wouldn't have been for them needing to order the tanks so quickly or just need confirmation for order the tanks, then we would be doing a rezone replat right now.
So I appreciate you helping them like that. So I guess my follow-up question to that would be, do you put some sort of time limit on that remaining ag before it's required to be
It probably wouldn't hurt. I don't
rezoned?
think it would be a terrible thing, and I don't think anybody would.
And I don't know if
opposed
that's
to it.
even possible. I'm just throwing that out as a.
And just so everybody knows too, once we get our footprint figured out, we plan on selling the remainder of the property. So just take that into consideration too on the rezoning.
Do you have a timeline in mind for
We're about
for getting the
12 to 16
drawings?
weeks on just equipment, and then, of course, hopefully coordinating contractors that are licensed by the state of Oklahoma to be able to do these type of installs. That moves pretty quickly, but really, realistically, we're probably gonna be approaching that October end of lease.
For the official drawings, or?
No, for the project even being finished.
So about how long do you have the official drawings, and we know, what might be eventually sold?
That's really gonna depend on, I guess, next Tuesday, what we're actually drawing up or not drawing up.
Assuming it passes, how long?
Assuming it passes, I mean, we've got in that packet kind of a basic layout of what we're looking to do.
Right.
It's not super fancy, but, we would just need to take that to the next step to, so we
You
can
said about a
basically lay
year?
that out and draw that.
About a year and a half, or less than that.
I don't know.
You're wanting to be operating by October? Is that what you were
Yes, sir.
as originally saying? Okay, so this is gonna happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, our lease is up in October, and we'll, hopefully get an extension if we're running longer than that.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So I guess you're gonna have to come back for a replat, no matter what, because you're
Correct.
gonna sell this other piece of property.
Yeah.
That's really where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
is
When they first come into the
I
office,
hate to
that's what
approve
I.
something as an ag lot when it's not even gonna be 2 acres. You know what I'm saying?
The replat's gonna trigger the rezone regardless, but when
Okay.
they first entered the office, that was what I'd pitched, was
Yeah.
a rezone and a replat, but then they had stressed how they're really just coming in to get, they'd asked me, do you see a problem with this so we can order the tanks? And I was like, I could say there's no problem, but then we get before the council and there's a problem. I said, so it's best to, I said, for now, let's do a CUP, and then that kind of gives you a soft yes that you can get these tanks ordered, and we can come back and do the rezone and replat as one, so.
Okay. Is that a bad request to ask for a time limit on it?
Not at all.
But again, as far as purposes of what I think we should do tonight, what the board should only do tonight is approve the site for this purpose. Because that's all we're looking at this time, because there's a lot of other things they have to apply for before they can be approved. And I don't want us having some sort of carte blanche that, yeah, you can do whatever you want to do. But that site, as contemplated and what is proposed, is approved this evening.
And by that site, you're talking about 18.5 acres.
Correct.
Mr. Elliott, I think you have this code too, is the 113.021C.
The oil and gas permit.
Yeah, it says oil and gas permit should be used in lieu of receiving conditional use permit. I'm not aware of an oil and gas permit on our books. I don't know if you are. I don't know what the recommendation is to do in that scenario if we don't.
I think we talked about, I thought we talked about this earlier, that's really not what we have here. An oil and gas permit, I think that's for a well or a producing site.
Do we have any other questions for the applicants? Is there anyone who wants to speak for or against? Any discussion?
I'm gonna be honest, I'm way less bothered by a CUP than I probably would be a rezone and replat. This is a local company, we know this company, they've been here forever. CUPs honestly don't bother me as much as more permanent things. I don't have any problem with a CUP for this.
I think my only question, or two questions for the commission, is about contingencies. Do we want to make this contingent upon formal approval of fire marshal, and do we want to have a time limit?
I think we could do the contingencies at the same time. Truthfully, under the ordinances and the code, it doesn't move forward if they don't meet those requirements. So, I mean, we can do that, it's just redundant, which is not a bad thing, but. And again, the time thing doesn't bother me. We know what the plan is. They've been very upfront about that. So the CUP to me covers it. It's only going to be good for McCraw. It's only going to be good for this company, this purpose. If they sell it, if they do anything else with it, the CUP goes, so.
think my thought behind it was maybe just more of a call out for city council, just so that is noted.
Well, I don't like to call out people, Drew, so, I mean. That sounds nicer.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Holder,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Horner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight,
No.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. So again, this is recommending board. It'll go before city council next Tuesday at 6. Paul, do we have any new business? I know we talked about making a list that would go on our agenda moving forward, but I didn't see anything. Could we put those actually on the agenda moving forward?
What the new business is gonna be?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're recovering the bullet points of progress. Yeah, thanks.
So December 14th, January 14th. I'm living in the past. January 14th at 1 p.m. we'll be having our kickoff meeting to discuss the code rewrite and what we're looking to see out of it and make that initial handshake with the company that's gonna be doing it. I know it's not fun, but if the planning commission would like to go through, and I will send each of you emails on what parts we're gonna be redoing. I think it's everything other than what building codes we're under. If y'all will make notes and headlines of things that you really wanna see us move toward or away from, it will be a complete rewrite, but I wanna get as many, of y'all's experience and knowledge in that rewrite that we can get. So things that y'all have seen over the years that we really need to steer toward and away from would be very helpful. So, and I'll probably be asking a few to join that meeting, or at least a meeting with this company at separate times to speak with them. So, and that's the only new business I got so far. And I do have a notebook in my office with everything that y'all have asked for from me over time, so I've got a pretty good idea of the Airbnb rentals and a policy for that and things like that. So
I think it would be good to include that list, even if it's as an attachment, just to keep us to keep those things in mind.
Gotcha.
Any questions, comments?
I'd like to congratulate Clint Horner.
I'd like to bring up old business, if we could.
I think we're done with old business. We have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Horner,
No.
Vice Chairman Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. I think we're adjourned.